Cinesmack contains spoilers of the spoiling type. If you don't want your spoilers spoiled, please turn back now. Otherwise, enjoy the show!
Hello, Cinesmackers, and welcome back to fight number 5 of Cinesmack. I'm Mike, and joining me are Sam Kwame.
Good evening.
Gabriel Ruhlwald.
Let's play ball, fellas.
Tom Haggis.
Hey, how's everybody doing?
And last but not least, Mark Johnson.
Put me in, coach. I'm ready to play.
Today. Sorry. I ruined that, didn't I? It's been a long week for me, and it's only Wednesday night. How's everyone doing? You guys doing well?
Yeah, good.
Yeah, doing great.
All right.
I'm on a streak, coach. I'm on a streak.
All right, without further ado, let's poke that monkey.
Ladies and gentlemen, pitchers and catchers, welcome to tonight's main event. In the first corner, released in 1989, directed by David S. Ward, starring Tom Berenger, Charlie Sheen, and Corbin Burnson, Major League. In the second corner, released in 1988, directed by Ron Shelton, starring Kevin Costner, Susan Sarandon, and Tim Robbins, Bull Durham.
All right. You guys have anything to add after that? Huh?
Is that it? We're all done?
We're all done. That's it. Say goodnight.
Thanks, folks. Have a good night.
Everybody.
All right, let's move on to the first round. Writing. There you go, man. That monkey's tired too. He's had a rough week with me. Let's start out with Gabe.
Okay, writing. Well, yeah, I felt like right away, right when Bull Durham started, I felt almost immediately that the writing was superior to Major League. But then again, they're kind of different. Their goals were kind of different, I think. Obviously Major League is kind of a comedy. It's a spoof. And how seriously can you take that writing? But almost right away, I felt like the writing was superior in Bull Durham, and I felt like, I'm already getting to know this character, Susan Sarandon's character, almost immediately right off the bat, so to speak. So I feel just, right away, it's evident that Bull Durham has much stronger writing for me, anyway.
All right. So Bull Durham for you. Mark.
I definitely agree with everything Gabe had to say. I'm actually reading that opening monologue that Susan Sarandon's character gives at the beginning, and it's really like a full paragraph's worth of dialogue that sort of sets up the whole film. She's sort of this like baseball muse, and immediately her character is 50 times more fascinating than anybody in Major League. And I don't know. I like Bull Durham because it really centers around sort of these three main characters, and they're all sort of developed properly, and they all have their moments. And Major League seems like David Ward like dusted off the Bad News Bears script and made it about professional baseball, and that's kind of essentially what it is. And gosh, I mean, you can tell every beat in Major League before it's going to happen, and it ends, it falls to all the sports movies cliches and it ends with the big game that of course they win. So I guess it's not like Bad News Bears, spoiler alert, but and they have the whole thing with Corbin Burnson's or Dorn's wife cheating on him with Wild Thing Charlie Sheen. And that really goes nowhere. That sets up like him punching him out in like the final scene of the film. And really, what was that for? That didn't make any sense to me. I don't know. That didn't bring much. So I guess Major League to me is sort of a retread, all over the place, sort of like broad comedy piece of work. And I think Ron Shelton really was trying to say something about the Institute of Baseball in Bull Durham. And I really like the scene in Bull Durham where Costner's up to bat, and you sort of go through his mindset through each pitch that comes his way. And I just, scattered moments of brilliance in Bull Durham, Major League, a giant retread. So I give the edge to Bull Durham.
All right. Sam.
Well, I've heard recently that some of our podcast listeners are looking for a little more smack in the Cinesmack because we're all so polite and we agree. And
it is true.
I like all of you guys. But Mark and Gabe, I think you guys are way off on this one. I think you are just old and stuffy in your Archie Bunker armchair in your television. I have a totally different experience watching these two movies. To me, they are very different type movies. Bull Durham is loosely categorized as a comedy, but it's definitely more of a drama type romance. It does show you, different connections with things. But as far as like the enjoyability and the way the story enwraps you and makes you become a part of it, Major League is something that I enjoy watching and quoting, and it does telegraph some things, but it successfully pays them off. And at the end, yes, they do win, but they don't win the World Series. They just achieved their goal. So they set a goal, and then they followed it. And on the way, we get all kinds of great lines. And, I could go on forever. Like when Charlie Sheen first comes up and the coach is like, look at this fucking guy. Like, that's how a baseballer would talk. And it's just funny because they really the whole comedy aspect, and we'll talk later about the casting and the actors in particular, but to me it's just a great time to watch it and re-quote these lines, perfect Facebook quotes, and I'll talk about some of the Bull Durham ones later. They do key on some of the same topics, like you see references to voodoo, sacrificing of chickens in both films. You also you see some parallels, so there are some crossovers between the two. But for me, Bull Durham was just too talky. It was really, there was a lot of build-up, and then before you got to the end, when Kevin Costner went away, you have about 15 minutes there of just kind of like, oh, we're going to watch some sex, and we're going to watch it's very 80s, but it's not the end, where Major League, they build you up, you get to that point, you feel the emotion, roll the credits. So for me, it's got to be Major League.
All right. Good points, Sam. Good going. Tom.
Sam, you ignorant slut. Bull Durham is one of the greatest sports films of all time. It is. Sports isn't really about making it all the way and winning the championship. It's all those seasons where the stuff just kind of falls apart, and you still have to kind of, drag yourself across the finish line, even though you finish fourth. It's. I found the dialogue in Bull Durham was just. I love it. I love watching it every time. Before I sit down to write, Bull Durham is one of those movies I love to put in because I just love hearing the way that the characters interact, and the scenes with Kevin Costner and Susan Sarandon are just some of my favorite scenes of all time. I just love the chemistry. I can't believe that she hooked up with Tim Robbins after this movie because I didn't see that chemistry between the two of them, but we know how that ended. So, but that's acting. We'll get to it later. I just, I think Bull Durham's a great script. It's one of my favorites. Major League was really good. And, I watched these two movies, and knowing that Major League came out, 10 months after Bull Durham, I can't imagine what it was like for the people making Major League to go see Bull Durham while they were in production and go, oh, son of a bitch. Well, wait. Do they have like a veteran catcher who's trying to, get one last shot? Oh shit. Do they have a cocky young pitcher who's having trouble with his control? Shit. What about a guy that uses, some voodoo or some crazy, oh god dang, this is ridiculous. And Bull Durham delivers all of that in such a more concise way, It's like they even got their Jesus guy in there on both of them. So, I adore Bull Durham. I think it's fantastic, and the writing, I think it was at the heart of all of it. And you can definitely tell between David S. Ward and Ron Shelton which one actually played in these situations. And Ron Shelton played minor league baseball for several years, and it comes through in the script. Whereas Major League, I always felt like I was in the stands. Bull Durham, I always felt that I was on the field.
All right. So Bull Durham for you, Tom. I'm going to mark you down for Major League. Just like Tom said, Ron Shelton did play in the minor leagues for a while. And Kurt Russell helped develop the script. And he was originally penciled in to play Crash. But as everyone has seen, that part went to Kevin Costner. And after the film was made, Russell was so impressed he actually wrote fan letters to Costner and Shelton. And Kurt Russell himself also played minor league baseball in the early 1970s. I didn't even know that. It's freaky stuff. So let's move on to our second round. Wake Up Monkey. Acting. So let's start with Sam. Oh my lord. No, whoa, monkey. He's all over the place tonight. Go ahead, Sam. Bad monkey.
Well, again, both of these films are different animals. Enjoyed a lot of the supporting cast in both films. I think as far as actors working their craft and the more serious material of Bull Durham really allows for the exploration of characters, whereas Major League, the characters at some point are a little more cliche, so there's not a lot of exploration of that, but they do their job well, and the story advances. I think Kevin Costner in Bull Durham is a force just to be reckoned with. I did hang on those portions of dialogue that he delivered because I couldn't. His presence was just so much that his believability as Crash. Susan Sarandon, there was nothing wrong with her performance. It didn't strike me as, I've never been a huge Susan Sarandon fan, and I didn't like Meat. I didn't like his character. I know he's supposed to be stupid and whatever, but I think Tim Robbins, and I've enjoyed his performances in a lot of other films. I don't think any other performance in that film couldn't come close to Kevin Costner. And I hadn't seen it in a while, and I didn't really remember how powerful that he was. So as much as I enjoy Major League and all of the great performances in that, I'd have to go with Bull Durham.
All right. And Sam, I have to ask, do you have an old-timey typewriter in your apartment?
No.
We keep hearing this clicking sound.
Really?
Yeah. I was just wondering. And I was seeing Johnny from Airplane just sitting behind you like.
I can make a hat, I can make a boat, I can make a pterodactyl. Sorry.
I found it kind of eye-opening when Tom Berenger told Charlie Sheen that you're a celebrity now, Vaughn, and Charlie Sheen said back to him, I thought you had to do something good to be a celebrity. I wrote that down.
You don't.
Yeah, apparently not. Let's go with Gabe.
Well, Sam, I got a little smack for you. Kevin Costner is one of the worst actors on the entire planet.
Oh, no.
The guy, yes, the guy sucks in everything. Although, this may be one of his better performances. I felt like in this particular performance, he didn't seem like he was trying to remember the lines and was like struggling to remember what he's supposed to say, and he actually had a little bit of character. So this was one of his better performances. I didn't feel like I was taken out of the movie by the terrible performance by Kevin Costner. I can't tell you how many movies I've seen with Kevin Costner in it, and I've gone, man, this guy cannot act. He cannot act. He's a handsome guy. Sure, he's good to look at. Maybe that's what makes him popular on the screen. I don't know. But he can't act. I mean, even in Dances with Wolves, I'm not sure his acting was that great. And it made me feel like, well, he should maybe be behind the camera. Maybe he's actually better at directing than he is acting. Kind of like Ben Affleck, who's not really a terrible actor, but man, he's a great director. Mm-hmm. So I'm sorry, Sam. I can't agree that Kevin Costner's performance was really all that stellar. For him, it was pretty good, but as an actor in general, I think he stinks. But that being said, I think the performances in Bull Durham overall were stronger. But that I don't know. I don't know if I should chalk that up to the acting, or if I should chalk that up to the writing. And I didn't really discuss it in the writing portion of it, but the characters in Major League are never really fully developed. You just feel like they're caricatures and not really fully realized characters. It's like Tom was saying. Okay, both movies have a young pitcher with a strong arm who's got trouble with control. But in Bull Durham, he's a pretty fully realized person. But in Major League, he's just a caricature. He's just Wild Thing. Why is he Wild Thing? I guess he's wild because he throws wild, But we don't know anything else about him. He was in prison and he can't, throw a strike to save his life. That's all we know. So it's hard to know what to attribute that to, if it's the writing or if it's the acting, because the actors didn't have a lot to work with in Major League. Mm-hmm. But overall, I felt like the acting was much more believable, much more natural, and definitely more enjoyable in Bull Durham.
All right. Senior Tom Haggis.
Gabe, you ignorant slut.
Oh, give me a break. Kevin Costner sucks.
He sucks. Look, I want you, listen, go to Family Video if you can find one. And I want you to look for a movie called Field of Dreams. Ask the guys up front. They'll know where to find it. Kevin Costner is awesome in that movie.
Kevin Costner doesn't do anything for that movie. That movie would have been awesome with any other actor playing that character. Ooh. I'm sorry. It's not Kevin Costner.
No,
sorry.
I don't buy that. And he was fantastic in Bull Durham. He was the heart of the entire movie. And, he had great material to work with, and he had some pretty good actors to act against. And I think Bull Durham came out in video when I was like 13 years old. And yes, the sex scenes were very appealing at that time, but it was this glimpse. And I'm a huge baseball fan. And honestly, if we weren't doing this right now, I'd be all over ESPN right now, getting ready for tomorrow. But I would just say that, his performance it was so great, and I really really like it. And his line deliveries between him and Susan Sarandon were great. Every time he walked out to the mound, I was just like on the edge of my seat because he just nails it every single time. And I really like Susan Sarandon. I don't think that her work in Bull Durham is quite up to task with the Mother Lover video she did for Saturday Night Live, but it's close. Whereas, you had a good point. I think the characters in Major League really are all just caricatures, and Bull Durham, they're really people, and that goes back to the whole idea that I said, that you really feel that you're in the locker room and that you're really on the field with these players instead of just watching all of this happening from the stands. So. I'm sorry, that ignorant slut thing, that was a cheap shot, but I had to do it.
Hey, that's fair,
All right. Mark.
That's how you feel, man.
Hug it out,
Just
boys.
let it out.
Hug it out.
Yeah,
Hug it out.
Yeah, so I'll take a Bull Durham. So mark it 8, dude.
All right, Mark, you're the last one. What you
Well,
got?
a couple of things. I think I'm going to take the neutral ground on the whole Kevin Costner debate. I've never thought he was particularly great in anything, but I never thought he was particularly bad in anything. Like I thought, oh, this movie's worse for him having been in it. Now that being said, I do agree with what Gabe said in that it seemed like in some of the moments with the lengthy dialogue, it seemed like he was like almost reading it off a cue card off screen or something. It's almost like he couldn't, handle repeating the material. So that was a little bit distracting. But I guess my second really big point is that if you would have told me that we were going to do acting and I was going to go last and no one was going to bring up Bob Uecker as Harry Doyle and I was going to be the one that had to do it, then I'd be stunned. Because, I mean,
Right.
he steals Major League. He's like the greatest. I mean, that could have been like a nothing performance, right? And he sort of elevates it to this like iconic thing. Everyone quotes Bob Uecker in Major League. That's oh.
Actually, in the Wild Thing edition, they actually have a whole bunch of baseball players quoting Bob Uecker. Like they say we say it every day. We quote him at least twice per day.
Well, see, and I don't know how much that comes from the writing as it is like him sort of, going off the cuff or improvising those little moments. I think they just sort of, let him go, and he sort of delivered these little nuggets of awesomeness, if you will. So I guess my thing with the cast of Bull Durham, the three leads are solid. I mean, they're serviceable, but I feel like they're sort of propped it up by the excellent writing. Whereas the ensemble in Major League had far less to work with, yet they sort of created this, clubhouse atmosphere that you would want to be a part of, and I mean, you'd want to be in that locker room when those speeches are being delivered, and you'd want to be up in the press box when Harry Doyle is doing I think the play-by-play or the color. I don't know which, because he has like the worst color commentator in the history of broadcasting.
He does.
So I mean, the man has his own human prop at his disposal.
You can't say that on the radio, Mark.
Yeah. Mark. Oh, I was just gonna say I have to agree with you completely on that. He totally stole the movie. He was the best part, in my opinion. He was the best part of Major League, hands down.
Well, see, I guess my thing is anytime I'm watching a baseball game, regardless of who's playing, and say I'm watching like the Royals play, and the Royals are bad, and that's most years, right? The guys who call Royals games have to call 162 Royals games.
Right.
And the team's not relevant by August or whatever. And I just think that's got to be the hardest job to wake up and go to every day is to call games of a team that no one's really talking about. So that's why I sort of empathize with Harry Doyle in a way when he has the Jack Daniels on day one and he's putting it behind his ear and just he doesn't care what goes out over the radio. It just I don't know. It might be a total caricature, but I think he does a great job with it.
All right. So what's your pick, Mark?
I pick Major League.
Major League. All right. Now, real quick, Tom, you are a huge Scrubs fan, right?
I am a huge Scrubs fan, and I did catch what you're about to talk about.
Okay. So you did notice that the janitor from Scrubs, I can't remember his name.
Neil Flynn.
There, thank you. Is
Neil Flynn,
the longshoreman in Major League. So
Yep.
I saw that, and I'm like, man, did you see who that is? I'm like, what?
He was also in The Fugitive. Of course, they kind of go into that in a Scrubs episode, though.
Oh, right. Right.
At the end, oh gosh, spoiler alert! At the end, in Major League, when they win, when they cut to the bar and he's in the bar and he hugs like the punk guy.
Yeah.
He hugged that. He was doing that, and I looked and I go, holy crap! Look at Neil Flynn's in that. Just that one quick shot, and then I watched the credits. I was like, oh, he was the longshoreman the whole time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he can certainly deliver he got the longshoreman language down very well.
Do any of you guys know who F. Gary Gray is? I hope some of you do. Yeah,
Rings a bell.
All right. Well, he was an extra in the film. Like he's not credit. He's just an extra in the film. But I just found it funny that he went on to direct and do other things, and he was just like this lonely little extra in the film. And you talk about how Harry is your favorite character. I have to say my favorite characters are the two Japanese guys. Crack me up every time. Absolutely every time. So the question is going to go out to you guys. If you could choose to put different actors in either film, who would you pick and why? And what parts? What would you do different? Like who would you choose?
I personally, I'd like to put Bob Uecker in the announcer role in Bull Durham, and then it would be the most perfect.
Good choice.
I would throw away the rest of my collection.
Anyone else?
I don't know. I think I would have found somebody else for Tom Berenger.
Really?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not a big
Tom Berenger.
See, I'm going to piss everybody off tonight. I'm
He's
not a
in
big
one of
fan
my
of Tom Berenger.
favorite action films ever, called The Substitute. It's awesome.
Yeah, see, he's probably better. I don't know. I'm just not a huge fan.
Yeah.
I think maybe I would have gotten somebody a little more. One other thing I want to say about the acting, I guess it just came up because I was going to say somebody a little more believable as a baseball player. One of the things that bothered me a little bit is that the actors in Major League didn't look like they could play baseball. Now, granted, they were supposed to be a terrible team. They weren't supposed to be good at playing baseball. But it didn't look like they had ever played baseball to me.
What movie were you watching, Gabe? I don't see that. I didn't get to talk about the ensemble on Major League, but I really enjoyed it. They did a lot of training, and Charlie Sheen
didn't look.
He has an incredible pitching ability. A lot of those shots were him pitching, and a lot of the Major League Baseball players will say that he has a lot of talent. He still hangs around with Major League players and does practice and plays catch. And
it's a little different. Yeah, he's got Tiger's blood and Adonis DNA.
But that's even that. I really believe they were baseball players, even more so than Bull Durham for some of the players.
Right, Sam, you're right. Charlie Sheen was a high school pitcher, and he was actually offered a scholarship to the University of Kansas. In the movie, he threw the 101 mile per hour fastball, but in reality, Sheen could throw in the high 80s. And they said it was a lot easier to be able to simulate the fastball on film, thanks to a slower speed.
You know who really didn't look like they could play baseball? Was Corbin Burnson. I don't think there was a shot where his character was running the bases. I think they had a pinch runner or whatever, because I don't think it was actually him. It didn't look like him, and then they cut, and I'm like, that didn't look like Corbin Burnson running at all. I don't think this guy's.
A lot of it was I had a chance to watch a lot of the special features on the Major League, and a lot of the ball players that also were training said that Corbin played a lot better than even some of the minor players that they had filling in the rest of the team. And that's maybe they were just saying that for whatever, but a lot of different ball players would say that, and they would show clips of him actually fielding and bare-handing balls and getting in there.
Well, that's really strange to me, because my experience of it was completely the opposite of that. When I watched Major League, I'm like, it looks like these guys have never played baseball in their lives. Whereas in Bull Durham, I could at least believe it. And it may have been things like shot selection and that kind of stuff. They didn't. There wasn't necessarily an opportunity in Bull Durham to see them really playing necessarily. So maybe we just weren't presented with the fact that they weren't very good baseball players. That we were maybe convinced of it because of the shot selection. But I don't know. I'm sorry. Don't get me wrong. It's not like I didn't enjoy Major League. I did. But I just felt like, wow, these guys don't even look like baseball players.
Mark, Sam, you guys have anyone that you would want to trade out?
I've never been a Corbin Burnson fan, at all. And I know at the time he was in LA Law, and that was a popular TV show from what I remember. I see why he's in there because he'd be a draw, but
Right.
I don't know. He's my Kevin Costner. Like I'm ready to just drop kick him out of there. I don't know who I'd replace him with. Maybe I'd replace Corbin Burnson with Kevin Costner. That's what I do.
All right, there you go.
Then maybe start a holy war.
Would you swap them? Would you put one in the other? And, like, would you flip them in movies, or would you just replace Corbin in Major League with Kevin Costner?
Well, see, I don't know if Corbin could be that sort of like over the hill or out of his prime sort of player Costner was in Durham, but that's tough. I don't know. I guess I can kind of give her, I'm kind of indifferent on both of them, I guess. So,
Sam, any choices for you?
I wouldn't change a lot, especially about Major League. When I was talking about the acting, I didn't really talk about how much I enjoyed the ensemble, but even aside from the major people, like the older pitcher that threw the Vaseline balls, and just like and also Dennis Haysbert and some of the other characters that are in Major League, like I really enjoy that ensemble. For Bull Durham, maybe the Tim Robbins character, I would. I don't know who I'd cast that would have been, at that time working, but Tim Robbins didn't really do a lot for me, so I would definitely look at the casting on that one.
All right. Well, if my opinion matters at all, I would pick any female on the earth to play the part that Susan Sarandon played, because I can't stand her.
What?
I dislike Susan Sarandon a lot. I won't use the word hate, but I dislike her a lot. Her eyes bug me. I can't help it.
Because they bug you because they're kind of buggy?
Yes. I just can't help it. And it just.
But who looks at her eyes?
I won't start a holy war over Susan Sarandon, but I just can't.
Oh,
you look at her eyes?
I just can't take it. They just draw me up there, Gabe. Like, she could be spread eagle before me, and I would just gravitate to her eye and be like, no thanks. So, on that note, let's go ahead and...
sorry, real quick.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Tom.
Mike, you ignorant slut.
Thank you. Thank you.
There you go. You just averted a holy war.
All right. Let's move on to directing. All right. Tom, you go first.
I thought the directing in Major League was serviceable. I guess it was. It told a really great story. I really like Major League. I don't want anybody to get the wrong impression, but how much I really, really enjoy Bull Durham is just off the charts. Charts. I don't know what I just used there, but anyway. For example, there's this scene where Crash leaves Annie's house, and Nuke and Annie start doing their thing, and Ron Shelton chose to cut to Crash, who's walking down the street, and he picks up the cardboard tube, and he's practicing his swing in the window, and it's just it's one of those things that helps develop his character, and this is how much he constantly wants to work at his game, even as his final days are coming, and it's just some really great choices that they made in situations like that, and just watching the relationship between Crash and Nuke kind of evolve, from the great scene behind the bar to the last scene in the locker room when they finally part ways. It's amazing to watch how far they come, and I attribute a lot of that to Ron Shelton, mostly his writing, but also his directing. That he knew how to handle these guys and get them to help tell the story he wanted to tell. Again, David S. Ward, he did a very good job with Major League. I really enjoy it. I get hooked into it even. I completely forgotten how much I like Major League when I went back and watched it again. But then I put in Bull Durham, and realized that it's no Bull Durham. But I think I'll give my point to Ron Shelton.
All right, Ron Shelton it is. Sam.
Well, it's always interesting when you, especially this time where we have two films that were both written and directed by the same person. So they're, as they're directing and going through the process of production, they're able to keep as close to their original script as possible because they're very connected to it. I don't want to, disparage Bull Durham or make anyone think that I didn't enjoy that film. I did, and I did enjoy, as I said, in acting, some of the performances. But for me, looking at both of them, it's very close, but it comes down to the fact, I think David Ward was able to cut a lot of his, he was able to cut some of his material and keep the pace clipping. Watching Major League, it soared by. Like it just went very fast. And Bull Durham, which is only a minute longer in running time, felt slow in places, and especially at the end for me. I think there were some of those scenes or portions of the scenes, like walking up to the scenes and other things that could have been cut. And I'm sure they were very lovely written of, this character, walks up and whatnot. But I really think that the tipping point would go to Major League for me.
All right.
And I really think that in Bull Durham, if he would have been able to, edit or, cut some scene here and there. And I know most of the other participants will probably go, say that I'm crazy, but I'm going to have to go with Major League this one by a hair.
By a hair. All right. Gabe.
Yeah, well, those are all good points, and I think in the end, I felt like Bull Durham had stronger directing. But Sam was just saying, if he could cut here and there, maybe he could have, I don't know, it wouldn't have seemed as, so slow in pace. And it's been mentioned a couple times tonight, the sex scenes with Susan Sarandon and Kevin Costner later in the movie. I've always wondered about that kind of stuff because it's like, do we really need to see them? So we know they're going to have sex, and we understand we can get the idea that they're having sex. Do we need the details about it? Do we need to know that they did it on the kitchen table, in the bathtub? Do we need to know these details for us to understand the point of this? And I've always wondered about that, and I I don't know if it's the kind of thing where they feel like, well, that'll bring the people in, people will come and watch this. But I think that's where I would have cut it. And I believe it was Legends of the Fall that had a similar situation in it. And I'm like, really? Okay, we know they're having sex. We know that Brad Pitt is having sex with this woman. Do we need to see all the positions that they've been in? Is that really necessary for us to understand the gravity of the situation? Oh my God. Not only did they have sex, but they did it missionary, doggy, reverse doggy, and they did it in all these different places. It's like, it's not necessary. It's over the top.
Are we still talking about movies?
We are. We are. Not the same kind of movies that we started out talking
Okay.
about.
All right.
But in the end, to me, that's a directorial
I think
choice.
Tom just fainted.
I have something to say when you get there, but that's fine. Go ahead.
Okay, but yeah, what I'm saying is that I feel like that's a directorial choice, maybe, and that's one place where in Bull Durham he could have made a different choice. We know they're going to get together, and we know that they do get together. We don't need to see it in excruciating detail. We don't, because we know that Susan Sarandon's eyeballs are going to creep Mike out.
Eyes.
Yeah, but even so, I felt like in Bull Durham the characters are more well developed. Credit to the writing and the directing. Kevin Costner is bearable. Credit to the directing. And in the end, I think, like Sam, I think I give the edge, only a slight one, to Bull Durham, because Major League is very enjoyable and it's fun to watch, and it is quick and concise. But I think for me, Bull Durham is superior in directing.
All right. Mark?
Yeah, directing was sort of the category I sort of had the least amount of material on, so I guess I'm going to keep this short. They're both sort of filmed in the same, within a year of each other. So one film doesn't have like the technology sort of advancements that we've had to deal with in other comparisons in directing, like Scrooged and a Christmas Carol. So they're kind of on an even playing field as far as the technology that was available during that time. But Ron Shelton in Bull Durham, those scenes that take place on the baseball field, I really felt like I was there when Tim Robbins, gets or when gosh, I'm all over the place. When Kevin Costner tips the batter off to the next pitch, and he just lights up that next pitch and blasts it over the wall. I like felt that. I felt like I was there, and I was there with Tim Robbins, and I almost watched that thing go over my head and over the wall. And I just think Ron Shelton sort of understands, the minor league ballpark, maybe because he played minor league ball. Whereas in Major League, I just felt like it was all sort of like set up as like studio set pieces almost. And so I guess to keep it short, I'm going to go with Ron Shelton and Bull Durham.
All right. Tom, was there something that you wanted to add?
Just real quick to kind of go back on two of the things you guys talked about. The length of the feeling, the length of Bull Durham. One of the reasons I like that, there's 162 games in a baseball season. Baseball is a long game. The games themselves are very long. I'm a Red Sox fan. I'm used to watching 4-hour games. They just, they drag on, and I thought that was something they kind of encapsulated in the movie. I really like that. Regards to the sex scenes at the end of Bull Durham, they're constantly trying to talk about the relationship between sex and baseball. And those scenes, I think, are so important because it shows you the difference between how Nuke approaches sex and how Crash approaches sex. And I think it's so important to get that idea and see how Crash makes that connection with Annie that Nuke never does.
Tom, I think that's a good point. But also, they just spent the first almost whole half of the movie telling us the same thing. They emphasize, you do see sex a lot in Bull Durham. From the first 4 minutes, you can see it's going to be a balance between sex and baseball. But I think what Gabe is saying, it's just some of it at the end, it went a little long. Like, obviously they're going to have a sex fest, and he's better than the other guy, and they're doing it in the tub. And I like seeing the sex scenes. I wouldn't have cut that. I probably would have cut the minute or two after that. But no, I just think that I just wanted to add on to that point.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like, Tom, I agree with your point. I agree completely. But I think they could have. They showed that they showed that Crash was better than Nuke.
He had more experience
in a very, very quick and simple way. When he unbuttoned her stocking, that's the point where I'm like, this guy has experience. Whereas the younger kid is just kind of, he's clumsy and inexperienced and just kind of dumb. And that's all we needed. We didn't need to see them, in the tub and on the table and all of that. That's all I'm saying.
Tom.
Okay. That's a very good point. The scene with the garter is very awesome. It's very well played by both of them. But I know I kind of see that those scenes as kind of the payoff. These two, they just like in baseball, they've set their out of bounds lines, they've set their rules, they've set their parameters, and they finally hit a point where they can hook up together and still stay true to the rules of this sport of sex, so to speak, without breaking any of the rules. And I don't think it's too gratuitous. I think it's all very necessary to the plot, and to see them connect 3 or 4 times, I think. So, so anyway, yeah, I don't think it's a highlight of the movie by any stretch of the imagination, but I certainly I think it's necessary. So there you go.
Well, I don't know. I've always felt Bull Durham was just one giant metaphor for sex. Like, just the older guys trying to give the new guy the younger guy some tips, and the younger guys just, go, 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 where the older guy is like, no, you got to take your time. And to me, it's always just kind of played out like that. And, so I don't know. I got nothing besides that. And besides moving on to our next round, which is overall. And for that, Sam, would you lead us off?
Well, overall, in our last couple broadcasts, really comes down to rewatchability, I guess, for me.
Monkey!
Oh, and thank you very much.
Yeah, you're done, Sam.
Jeez.
Good monkey.
Oh,
I don't like where this is going.
Sorry, Sam.
That's okay. One thing, some good stuff I will say about Bull Durham. Robert Wool, I think, his whole career really has been so underestimated and not necessarily appreciated. I always like seeing him. I think he's a fantastic actor, even if he's just in a smaller supporting role. I liked him better than the coach. I don't like the coach that smokes instead of chews. Like, if we're going to do cliches, you might as well give him the spit tobacco. Because when I do notes for these things, I kind of make notes on each film, and then I kind of look at both films. I think the better manager in the movies, obviously, to me, would be the Major League manager. Mark touched on the announce team. I think everybody did, actually. And, the best announcing team by far was definitely Major League. Watchability goes to me for Major League. Like, I'll come back to that in a couple years and have as much fun as I did when I saw it at Billy Joe's Picture Show here in Des Moines. And I thought it was a cool saying because my dad was a huge baseball fan, and at the time I was too. The cool thing about both of these movies is it's really makes me remember how much I loved baseball at one time, and I think that it has rekindled some of that passion, seeing both sides. Bull Durham in the minors is darker. The color schemes are more muddy. It does kind of show you that, it's kind of a limbo land where, these guys work really hard and maybe they'll get their chance and maybe they won't. But what I like about Major League is it is very bright. It's crisp. You're at this big league level. There's a lot of colorful characters around, a lot of memorable lines. I think overall, I'm going to go with Major League.
All right. Gabe.
Okay, well, like Sam was mentioning, some of it, at least in the last few episodes that we've come down to, is the rewatchability part of it. But I'm not sure that's at play here because I think, for me anyway, because I think I would watch both again and enjoy both equally. I've been giving Bull Durham a lot of credit, but it's not like I didn't enjoy Major League. But I just felt from a filmmaking standpoint that Bull Durham, on all aspects, was a superior film from a filmmaking standpoint. I remember when Major League started, the first thing I thought is, who's doing the cinematography? It looks almost at times kind of amateur. It's like, okay, we're going to set up the camera on a tripod and we're going to do this kind of shaky kind of pan. And we're going to tilt up to show the stadium. And it seemed kind of amateurish in that respect. And I also felt like, the characters, while enjoyable and fun, weren't well developed. I didn't really know any of these characters. And honestly, I didn't know which ones were the main characters because they didn't really focus on any of them. I wasn't really rooting for any of those characters in particular. But even so, I enjoyed it. It was fun. There were some fun lines in it. But from a filmmaking standpoint, I think there's no question that Bull Durham is a superior movie.
All right. Tom. Tom, go.
I've lost track of who I've called ignorant sluts tonight, so we'll just skip that part. I think everyone knows where I'm going on this. There's a timelessness of Bull Durham. When I watch it, I kind of forget when it takes place. I mean, is it in the 50s, in the 70s? Does it take place today? And there's hints in there where obviously it takes place, in current day or, late 80s when it was shot. But the themes and the settings and stuff are so timeless. Those small town ballparks are so timeless. I kind of lose myself in it. Whereas in Major League, I was watching it and I'm like, wait a second, the Indians and the Yankees are in the same division. What are they playing for? Okay, so the winner gets to go to the World Series. I mean, and I had to Google and figure out the history of the MLB playoffs to figure out what was going on, and stuff didn't jive, and I got completely lost in that. And so I think there's a dated feeling to Major League that the Bull Durham I don't know if we'll ever have. I've been a fan of the film for a really long time. I have the soundtrack for Bull Durham on LP. I don't know what
you got to be kidding me.
No, I actually have 2 copies. I bought it twice. The kicker is I don't own a record player. So I really, really like Major League. It's a fun movie, and I'll watch it again. But Bull Durham, I know that I've got probably 20, 25 more viewings of Bull Durham left in me because I just enjoy it so thoroughly, and for me it's so entertaining, and there's tons of lines that I quote all the time, and so I would give my final vote to Bull Durham since I've run out of notes.
All right, really, the soundtrack, huh?
I have the soundtrack on record, 2 of them. Wow. So if you want to borrow it.
All right. I can think of Susan Sarandon's big eyes.
She's on the cover.
Oh, Mark, go. You're on deck.
To build on what Tom was talking about as far as why the Indians and Yankees were playing each other, I also today looked up the Major League Baseball standings for 1989, and there was only 4 divisions back then. I couldn't get past that, and it's kind of funny that in 1989 that the Yankees and Indians finished in 5th and 6th place respectively. So they were both bad teams that year. But it does kind of throw you off looking back. I'm like, why would they be playing a 1-game playoff when the Indians are in the Central and the Yankees are in the East? So I get what Tom's getting at there. But for me, going into watching these movies, Major League was sort of the 7 role from last time. I've seen Major League a bunch of times, and the movie is like cotton candy, okay? Mm-hmm. And as someone who's always had maybe problems with portion control, I can eat a lot of cotton candy. I can eat bags and bags of cotton candy. I can revisit Major League over and over and over again. And I thought it was going to be really tough, going up against Bull Durham because I didn't know anything about it, or much about it rather. And it's more of the peas and carrots kind of film. It's everything that's good for you. I can watch Major League and quote it, but if you really want to sit down and watch a quality film, it's got to be Bull Durham. And one thing that really stuck out to me this time watching Major League, that the song that they play when Tom Berenger leaves the stadium in the little stadium cart.
Oh,
and
yeah.
So that song that they play during that moment might be one of the worst songs I've ever heard, ever. It has no business being in this movie or any other movie.
It is. It's horrible. It is so bad. And then they play it at the credits, too. And it's like, hey, I'm going to run after you because I love you. It's really let's get a cheap song to fill in this part. It was because they open with Randy Newman. You're like, all right, great. It's Randy Newman. And it's not animated. And,
So that was Randy Newman.
Yes, in the opening song.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how I wouldn't know that. It's unmistakable. But
and I love the Randy Newman song at the beginning. So you just figured, they can get sort of that quality of song for later on in the film. But no, that song just god awful. So that was a major distraction for me this time. So
I have to agree. I actually. Oh, thanks, Tom. For anyone that can't see it, Tom changed his profile picture to Susan Sarandon. Thanks. That's creeping me out.
Yeah. Did you Photoshop it that quick? To add Hi Mike to it?
I did. Deal with it.
Good.
Oh man,
that's good. I'm impressed.
I did make a big note that said the music was atrocious in Major League. As much as I love that movie, the music is just god awful. So I'm glad you didn't say that you own the Major League record, Tom. Thank you. Go ahead, keep going, Mark. Sorry.
Oh, I guess that was mostly it. But I guess I'm looking at these two movies on IMDb, and the average rating for Major League is 6.9, and the average rating for Bull Durham is 7.0. So it's like, a tenth of a point. And Major League's 107 minutes. But you know what? There's 108 beads in a Catholic rosary, and there's 108 stitches in a baseball. So I'm going to go with the movie that's 108 minutes long, Bull Durham. Wow. It's my walk-off shot.
I'm all for I like the IMDb ratings. I think they're real reliable. But for this one, I'll defer to ESPN, who named Bull Durham the greatest sports movie of all time. Thank you very much.
Wow.
Up here, Susan Sarandon. While the monkey tallies the votes, would you guys nowadays? It's going to be inevitable. They're going to remake these, at least one of them. Which one would you want to remake, and who would you pick now? Like who would be your cast now?
Well, I would say I'm one of those kind of guys as a purist, is that you don't remake certain movies that have done it right. So I would not touch Bull Durham at all. And I think it goes to the timelessness that Tom spoke of. There's no need to revisit Bull Durham. But Major League is a perfect vehicle to reinvent itself and come back, because it was always about, you're getting to know these new guys, they're going to do some hijinks, and it's going to be a fun ride. So I think Major League, we will see a Major League 3 if Charlie Sheen does not die, which, with all the craziness of Charlie Sheen, we barely touched on his current, all his shenanigans now. But in this point, I think Major League is if they want to remake that or add some new stuff to it, if you can tie in at least loosely some of the original characters, like to see Dennis Haysbert back as Serrano, even if it was like as an owner somewhere, like still puffing on the cigars and still all bald, and that's fun. As a fan of that, I think it'd be fun to see these people, even if briefly, back in these roles, even if it's not going to be close to the magic it was originally. For a fan, it sometimes is nice to get a little bit more time with some of those characters.
Right. Anyone else?
If I did Bull Durham, my goal would be to make it as horrible as possible. So I would cast I would put the cast of Twilight in it.
God. That's gonna make a shitload of money, Tom.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So it would be. I would try to make it as horrible as possible, so that people would, pine for the simpler days of the original Bull Durham.
You'd have emo Bull Durham.
Yeah, I would.
Emo.
Would.
Could Justin Bieber do the Susan Sarandon? That could be hot for some of those tweens out there. Like, you mix in the Twilight guys and Justin Bieber, and that might be a big box office, boy. That could be a retirement for you, Tom.
Yeah, I don't know. Kirsten Stewart, I thought, in the Susan Sarandon role, because she'd look down at her feet and then run her fingers through her hair. That's all she does anyway. So, and then Robert Pattinson as Crash Davis. I'm copywriting this idea. None of you guys touch it.
All right. Fair enough. You killed the room.
No.
Oh, and I officially resigned from the podcast. Screw you.
Mark, Gabe, do you guys have anyone in mind?
I'm with Sam in that I think it's sort of blasphemy to remake a Bull Durham, but that's the script I would go back to, because that's clearly got the best writing there.
He really did leave. No.
So
I'm on a yacht now.
Are you on a boat, Tom?
I'm on a boat.
Is T-Pain back there? No.
Is that a hint that we're going to do Speed 2 sometime soon? Because
Speed 2 versus Titanic. How about that?
Ooh.
Go ahead, Mark.
No, I mean, I'd go Bull Durham, and I'd probably get not the Twilight people, whoever's hot at the moment, whoever $20 million actor I can fit there. Probably maybe I get Steve Carell as the Kevin Costner role.
Wow. All right, Gabe.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, again, I'm with Sam and Mark that certain movies you don't touch. You just don't remake them. And I'm not sure that
they are remaking films that you just don't touch.
And that's the problem. They shouldn't do it. They're gonna meet severe failure in almost every one of those efforts. I guarantee it. Because people will go and they'll compare it to the original and they'll say the original was awesome. Why would I want to go see some chintzy remake? Like when they remade Psycho. And they did it shot for shot. It's like, well, that's not filmmaking. That's like an exercise in, like, I don't know, like lighting setup or something. Well, let's make the lighting look exactly the same as the original. It's like that's not actual true filmmaking, in my opinion.
Copy and paste.
And I'm not sure that I feel that Bull Durham is that enduring of a classic, but it's definitely the kind of thing where it's like, well, I'm not sure remaking it would improve it in any way.
Okay.
But then again, I'm not sure I would remake Major League either. I think Major League is more ripe for sequels, like Charlie Sheen is looking for, and like Sam said, is something that you like these characters. You don't really want to see these characters doing the same thing again, but you would like to see these characters again, doing something new and something fun. So if I were to touch either of them, I would probably approach a sequel of Major League.
Now they've had three. They've had Major League 2, and then they've also had Major League Back to the Minors, which I guess went directly to video. All right, let's find out who won this match, shall we?
And the winner by shutout is Bull Durham!
Yay!
That was me booing there. Boo. No, I'm like, everybody wins. Everybody wins.
Yeah, that was kind of. I've always thought that we'd have closer matches than this, but yeah, Bull Durham kind of beat Major League by 8. So.
And if I wouldn't have been here, it would have like swept everything.
All right, let's move on to this week's recommendations for the week. Who would like to go first?
I'll go first.
All right.
My pick for this week is the 2002 winner for Most Unfortunate Title, and it's a little movie called The Dangerous Lives of Altar Boys. The movie came out right about the time the whole sex scandal was going on with the church, and the movie... the title kind of shied a lot of people away. I think they thought that this was a movie. When people say Altar Boys, they think of this, other thing that's happening in current events. Where Dangerous Life of Altar Boys is about 4 friends who are comic book artists that go to a Catholic school. Jodie Foster's the nun, Vincent D'Onofrio's the priest, and there is none of that, priest, altar boy, hanky panky going on. This is if you like comic books and you have not seen this movie, you need to get off your butt and don't rent it, don't Netflix it. You go and you buy it because you will watch it again and again. It is fantastic. If anybody loves comic books, or you went to a Catholic school, this is a movie for you. It really kind of hit on a lot of points with me, and growing up and going to Catholic school and loving comic books, I would really, really recommend it. It's got Kieran Culkin, Emile Hirsch, back when they were younger, obviously, Jenna Malone, Vincent D'Onofrio, Jodie Foster. It's super fantastic. The director, Peter Kerr, it was his only movie that he did to date, and it's the only one he's done since then. He got to start doing REM and Depeche Mode videos, and then he did this movie, and it is fantastic. And it is not what you think it is about. It's not about any of that other stuff. It's a fantastic movie about teenage boys and their love of comic books and how it conflicts with going to the school, and it's about young boys getting into trouble, and it's fantastic. I'd really recommend it. Dangerous Lives of Altar Boys. Buy it.
Right on. I haven't seen that.
Are you kidding?
Nope, not kidding.
You hang out at Cup of Kryptonite?
I know. I know.
And you
I've
haven't
never
seen it?
I've never seen it. Charlatan, I know.
All right, hang on. I'm duct taping it to one of my LPs of Bull Durham, so you can. It's heading your way.
All right, Mark.
I'm going to go with a movie that came out about 6 weeks ago, and it's probably not playing at your local theater, which is pretty awesome. It played at the South by Southwest Film Festival in Austin, and honestly, I've always wanted to go to South by Southwest, right? Because I always hear about all these little indie films, and maybe they get wide distribution, maybe they don't, and then I never catch up with the ones that don't. But Sebastian Gutierrez debuted a film there that he also put in its entirety on YouTube. And I was able to check it out. It's about 80 minutes long. It's a fun little movie. It stars Carla Gugino, Zachary Quinto, Josh Hartnett, Danny DeVito, Rosario Dawson, and a few others you probably recognize. And it's sort of like a homeless man's Shortcuts. I mean, it's about all these strangers whose lives sort of intertwine. And if you're a fan of any of those actors and you just want to see them sort of have a good time on screen, it's a lot of fun. And again, it's short, it's 80 minutes, and it just came out, and it's on YouTube. So if you have one of those web-enabled devices for your TV and you can watch YouTube through Google TV or Apple TV or whatever, I would recommend Girl Walks Into a Bar.
Right on. All right, Sam.
Well, those are two amazing picks so far. Tom, I love that movie. Vincent D'Onofrio in that movie, and the rest of the cast. Great pick. I hope people check it out. It's really good. Mark, you had me at Josh Hartnett. I'm not ashamed to admit that he is one of my favorite actors. I really have. I don't know. I really like Josh Hartnett, and that film sounds amazing. I'm going to check it out as soon as possible. My pick this week is actually a TV series from 2004. Now, this was recommended to me on my Netflix streaming. It was suggested to me because of other films that I had watched. So it sounded interesting, and I watched the first episode. It was actually on the WB. And, I didn't watch any of the WB shows. I always thought they were very poor for what I did see. But this series, Jack and Bobby, is amazing. Tommy Schlamme, who worked on The West Wing, kind of brings some of those sensibilities to this series. It's not about the Kennedys at all, but it's about two brothers. And it's kind of a documentary from the future after he has been president. But the flashbacks that you see are all modern day, and kind of shows them growing up. The mom here, she's kind of a college professor, but she's also kind of a pothead. And for a WB, I cannot believe it was on the WB. Christine Lottie plays the mom, who's done tons of stuff. Most recently, she was in Law and Order. Mm-hmm. Seriously, Jack and Bobby, you will not believe it was a WB series. It only lasted one season, but you have guest stars. At one point, Carrie Fisher is in the future telling back part of her story. So you have some of these big cameos scattered, and they usually just do one episode. And then there's only 22 episodes there, but it's such an enjoyable series. It's called Jack and Bobby. It's now streaming on Netflix, and I think you should check it out.
Right on.
Hey, I just
sorry.
Hey, I just wanted to check too. I was looking for that show. I don't have Netflix, but I saw that WB's website actually has all 22 episodes too. So it's for free. Check it out.
Awesome. Gabe.
Okay.
And you're done.
Excuse me. I'm done. Actually, my problem with this is I forget what I suggested before, and I'm afraid I'm going to suggest the same thing twice. I've been writing them down for the last couple of episodes, but I don't remember. Does anybody remember if I recommended Moon with Sam Rockwell before?
I don't believe you did.
I don't think you did either.
No.
Okay.
I just watched that yesterday.
I just watched
really?
it in the last few weeks too. Yeah.
Really? I was really surprised. I caught it by accident one day. I think it was on HBO or something, and I flipped to it and I watched it, and I was like, wow, why have I never heard of this movie? Because I found it really interesting and really compelling, and I thought Sam Rockwell was just stellar. And I guess I don't want to give too much of a spoiler for anyone who hasn't seen it yet, but so I won't give away too much. But I felt like Sam Rockwell was really great in it, and it's also the kind of science fiction movie that I really enjoy. I like science fiction movies with aliens and spaceships. I love Star Wars and Star Trek and those kinds of things. Those are fun. But for me, real science fiction is about stuff that's not possible yet, but is within the foreseeable future. And not only that, it poses a moral dilemma. That our scientific advancement has posed some sort of a moral or ethical dilemma for us, and that's what Moon is about. It's about like, what is individuality, what is humanity, and what defines that, and who's real and who's not, and who deserves to live their lives, and it's just really, to me, it was really kind of an interesting and compelling movie. For some, it might be a little bit slow paced. It's not an action movie. There's not spaceships and laser beams and aliens and all that kind of stuff. But it's to me, it was a really compelling look at what defines us as humans, what makes us individuals. And I enjoyed it immensely, and I recommend it very highly.
Yeah, I was really surprised, pleasantly surprised by the film. I caught it when I came down with bronchitis, and I was down for like a week and a half. So I watched nothing but movies that I was trying to catch up on. So yeah, good pick. My pick is a film out of Korea. It's called The Good, the Bad, and the Weird. I have to say, it's a fun film. The cinematography in it is awesome. Love it. It's directed by a guy named Ji-woon Kim. I've never seen anything else of his. And yeah, it is kind of a take on The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. But it's set in Manchuria in the 1940s. And it's really enjoyable. I had a lot of fun with it. So, yeah, go out. Check it out. And one more thing. I have confused Netflix. It's having trouble suggesting movies for me because I've rated 1,414 films on there, and it's starting to run out of films to suggest for me. Is anyone else having that problem, or is it just me?
Have you seen that many?
Yes.
On Netflix?
Not on Netflix, but I have seen that.
How many have you rated?
1,414.
Wow. Well, I've rated 3,059, and they haven't perfected that software. Like, it's not anywhere. I mean, it's getting better, but it's still like, hey, you like this, so you would really like this crap. I'm like, well, no, not really. Sometimes it gets it right. Like, it suggested Jack and Bobby, and I think that's the first movie it really got right. But yeah, sometimes it gives you the most off-the-wall stuff.
Yeah, it actually suggested Moon for me, and The Good, the Bad, and the Weird. So, but
now I just have to say, if you have two young kids who watch nothing but Netflix Instant Watch, and they only consume Dora the Explorer and Phineas and Ferb, and then like in the evening you watch Exit Through the Gift Shop, you will get some interesting recommendations.
Right on. Right on. All right. Is there anything else you guys want to add? You want to tell the folks where they can follow you, friend you, get a hold of you? Go ahead. We'll start with Susan Sarandon.
Yes. I've kind of shut down the Twitter account for a while just because I couldn't think of funny things to say, and I've moved everything over to Facebook, so people can Facebook me by looking for Tom Haggis on Facebook. I'm the only one. I love Facebook. I just started getting into it like a couple weeks ago. I know it's kind of been out there for a while, but I love Facebook. It's so much fun. So I'm always looking for friends. Come on over, and then my work is shifting to the wedding field for the next 4 or 5 months. So you guys check out our latest work at weddingdayrewind.com.
And I'm one of them.
You are. Yeah, I will. So,
all right, Sam.
Well, you can also find me on Facebook. If you want to know more about the 48 Hour Film Project, you can go to 48hourfilm.com/Des Moines, and that'll be here before you know it. And also, every Tuesday night, you can check me out at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time on Des Moines Amplified on Screen Scene.
Right on. Gabe.
Yeah, I'm a Facebooker too. I'm not an active Facebooker, and I feel like Tom has done a great job of because you're pretty new to Facebook at this point, right, Tom?
I am.
Yeah,
Yes.
and you've done a great job of getting into it and posting stuff that is actually interesting to read.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah, so many of my friends just like post, stuff that's not really all that important. But I like reading Tom's posts.
Thank you, Gabe. I appreciate that.
Well,
Yeah, thanks a lot, Gabe.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. I put my foot in my mouth. But
No, don't backtrack. Don't backtrack.
you can find me on Facebook, although I won't have any friends anymore because
There's
they're
no
all
crime in Cinesmack.
friend me. So yeah, there you have it.
All right, and Mark.
And before I, give my info, I think Mike needs to make like a 30-second MP3 of what Gabe just said and post it on his wall on Facebook so everyone can know his thoughts on the matter. But no, I am not on Facebook. I'm sort of an outsider. I'm only on Twitter. I'm Jeremy Bentham 42, and I guess follow me if you really like tweets about Lost and the upcoming NBA playoffs. So, but I'm out there if you want to endure that.
All right. As usual, we would appreciate it if any of you could leave us a review on iTunes, and we want to thank anyone that has so far. And you can also leave us maybe a review on any other podcatching service that you use. You can contact us at cinesmack@gmail.com or follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Just search Cinesmack. And we kind of have a new little site that I just got done last week. You can go to cinesmack.wordpress.com, and we have a little WordPress site that I'm hoping to update with show notes and maybe the Susan Sarandon picture that's staring at me now.
Hey, Mike, was this episode smack heavy enough for you?
It was smack heavy enough, yes.
All right, because from what I understand, Gabe's shockers are jammed, and Sam needs a live rooster?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And none of us know what to get you and Manda for a wedding present. We're dealing with a lot of shit here.
Are you trying to say that Jesus Christ can't hit a curveball? Just had to get that in there before this was done.
Next episode, join us as we throw our favorite surfer dudes, Bill and Ted, into the pit, along with our two lovable stoners, Harold and Kumar. So it's going to be Harold and Kumar versus Bill and Ted for our next episode. For Mark, for Gabe, for Sam, for Tom, and myself, thanks for listening. And up your butt, Joe Boo.
You guys, you lollygag the ball around the infield. You lollygag your way down to first. You lollygag in and out of the dugout. You know what that makes you, Larry? Lollygaggers. Lollygaggers.
Oh, real quick, another film that I got to watch on, I don't think it was streaming, but it was on one of the other movie channels, was About Schmidt.
Oh, that's a great
one. I hated that.
Hated it? I loved it.
We have to talk about it.
Bates and her cow and Jesus Christ.
You're supposed to hate that.
I saw that with my mom, for sake, and I'm like, I don't want to see Kathy Bates cow. And this was at the floor. It's like, I don't want to see that with my mom, and it was like, oh my god. Okay, and that's About Schmidt for me.
This has been a test of the Southsider Studios podcast system. This was only a test. If this were a true lack of entertainment, your head would explode. Go to iTunes and subscribe to our feed. Just search Southsider Studios.